All right, are we ready to begin? All right. Call this meeting to order.
Get a roll call. Committee member Palmer.
Here.
Vice Chair Ostavar.
Here.
Chair Pauly.
Here.
Committee member Sanders.
Here.
And we have committee members Turgeon and Hunter absent today. Staff present is Planning Manager Hill, Principal Planner Roveri, Senior Associate Planner Schmidt, and Recording Secretary Argenbright. Information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at monterey.gov/agendas. Remote commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you are connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government.
All right, and with that, we'll go ahead and open up the consent agenda. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak on an item that is not on today's listed agenda?
Or first, we need to give them the option to speak on the consent agenda.
On the consent agenda, yeah. We had one hand there. That's not the consent. Yeah. Okay.
Move to approve the February 19th meeting and field trip minutes.
Second. All right, we have a motion to approve the minutes from the previous meeting. We have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Actually, I have to abstain because I was not at that meeting. Sorry, I said aye. Okay, so that does it for the consent agenda. Any member of the public or anyone online?
There are no attendees online with their hands raised.
Okay, all right. So then we will move on to our agenda items.
Non-agenda items.
Items not on the agenda.
We didn't ask for-
Like every week. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak regarding items that are not on today's agenda? Okay, we have one hand up. You could come up to the mic and introduce yourself.
Good afternoon, Chairman, members of the board. My name is Lena Bunsen, and I'm here today because I'm deeply concerned homeowner in Monterey. A few months ago, my husband and I purchased our dream home here in Monterey. Following extensive renovations, we officially moved in 3 weeks ago. After my retirement of 34 years in education, the breathtaking ocean views and abundant natural light were two of the main reasons we chose this home. We were thrilled to settle in until 3 days ago when we were heartbroken to learn that an ADU was being built at 805 Fillmore Street. This structure will not only block our ocean view, but significantly reduce the natural light that made our home so special. Even more concerning, the proposed design includes a window that looks directly into my bedroom that raises privacy concerns. I respectfully urge the board and the Architectural Review Committee to reconsider the current plans and explore alternative designs that balance the needs of both properties. I request a thorough review to ensure this project aligns with community standards and does not unfairly impact neighborhood homeowners. I have some pictures if I can share them with you, and I'd like to thank you for your time and your consideration.
Would you like to email them to us, or we can?
I can also email.
And this was an ADU that was administrative because it was within the ADU guidelines?
I have to check.
Okay.
The only reason that they would come before you is if they're asking for change of roof pitch. a different roof pitch than the main home,
Mm-hmm.
or if it was in an R3 zone and was built above a garage.
Okay.
So we have to check though.
Yeah, I'd urge you to reach out to the city staff to
I
try to better understand the ADU process. To a certain degree, our hands are tied.
I
on
understand.
this.
I just wanted to share. I'll send pictures
Okay.
and I'll continue to reach out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Alrighty, if there's no other attendees that would like to speak for items not on the agenda, we'll go ahead and move on to our first public appearance.
Just confirm that there are no attendees online with their hands raised for non-consent agenda items, non-agendized items.
Great. So we have that confirmed. We'll move on to our first public appearance.
Chair Polly, I see that there are members of the public here and they're likely here for the numbers 4 and 5 on the agenda. And we received comments and also an email from the applicant telling us that the accuracy of the story poles for those two projects is in question. And we were hoping if you could jump to those items 4 and 5 right now to continue them to a date uncertain. So change the order of the agenda to first do numbers 4 and 5 and then number 3.
Okay, but are you asking us to continue 4 and 5 without a public appearance so that the city can verify the validity of the story polls?
Yes.
Do I need a motion for that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, do I need a motion to move them and then another motion to continue them?
So the chair can actually reorder the agenda. So you have the authority to do that, and then you would do so, and then you would take a motion on the continuance for 2 different items. So it'd be
Two motions.
2 motions. Correct.
Okay. So, yeah, executive order to move items 4 and 5 above 3. And then can I have a motion?
Motion to continue 20 Spray Avenue and 22 Spray Avenue until date unknown.
Now we need 2 motions, so you got to do 20 separately from 22.
Okay. Motion to continue 20 Spray Avenue to a date unknown.
Second? Right?
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right.
Motion to
Motion
consider 22 Spray Avenue, to continue 22 Spray Avenue at a date unknown.
Second that.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right. Both items 4 and 5 will be continued until our next ARC meeting, and we will move on to item number 3, Custom House.
We will renotice the items since they were continued to a date uncertain.
Okay. And you'll let us know if we need to do a site visit?
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to item number 3, 5 Custom House Plaza.
Okay, thank you, Chair. My name is Chris Schmidt. I'm a Senior Associate Planner for the City of Monterey, and I've been working with the applicant on this project, as well as sign applications in the last few years. So yes, we're looking at 5 Custom House Plaza. The application involves a total of 9 wall signs at the Stanton Center. The staff's recommendation is that the ARC adopt a resolution approving the sign permit. And so just some background information about the site. It is located in the waterfront area. It is zoned PCD, so it's subject to the downtown specific plan. And as I mentioned, it contains the Stanton Center, which is a building that is owned by the Monterey History and Art Association, where they currently have the Art Association's art exhibit. So the signage would be for that use. So in 2016, the ARC approved the Dolly exhibition signage. That included a number of four banner signs, two vinyl window signs, and one vinyl wall sign. And then when that exhibit left that location, the applicant came to the ARC in 2023 for four banner signs. And so they have returned. I'll note that at the time, the ARC did give the option to make those banner signs permanent, a specific set of them. The applicant has actually since revised that plan and brought forward a new sign program. So again, 9 wall signs are proposed. It does include locations for rotating exhibit banner signs. So there are a number of banner signs that are proposed again in similar locations. And here's the table from your staff report of the signage. One of the main reasons why these applications, this specific application has to go to the ARC is because it's not fully consistent with the sign guidelines. The ARC can approve inconsistencies if they find that it meets the purposes and objectives of the sign ordinance. So in the case of this project, we have a number of signs that exceed the 50 square foot recommended maximum. You can see 3 signs here at 66.5, 96, and 96, as well as the total amount of sign area is about 454 square feet, exceeds the total frontage of about 410 linear feet of the building frontage at the building perimeter. So moving on to the sign design. So here are signs A and B at the entrance to the museum. They are both 29.51 square feet. They would be painted on there. Sign C, which the sign faces towards the waterfront parking lot at an area of 39.44 square feet. And these would be dimensional high density urethane material. So kind of think of like a channel letter type material. Sign D is 66.5 square feet. This sign faces the plaza. It would be an aluma clad, basically an aluminum metal material at the exterior. Signs E and F. This is directly adjacent to the entrance. Each of these are banner signs that are 96 square feet in area. Sign G, another banner sign. This is at the kind of rear frontage, adjacent to the bridge overhang that goes that's above the tunnel rather. And then 2 banner signs at the column at the center of the entrance here, both 27 square feet. And as I mentioned, there are the 2 inconsistencies that I mentioned: the 50 square foot max guideline per sign, as well as the sign guideline requirement for this district is typically going to be 1 square foot per linear foot of building frontage. As you can see here, there's a greater amount of sign area than frontage. And then there are also more than 2 wall signs per storefront. There's 1 main storefront here, and there is a rear entrance that I think is less used. Or is it always closed? It's open most of the time. Okay. So the downtown specific plan also has guidelines that apply to the site. G7.8, which says to minimize signs. Again, the total sign area is greater than recommended, and individual sign areas are greater than the recommended size of the of the sign guidelines. And then G7.9, which says to use historically appropriate materials, hand painted or hand carved signs are preferred. There are a number, like as I mentioned, there are a number of banner signs proposed. Others are painted, and then others do use kind of a painted on metal material, or an HDU was kind of similar to a hand painted or carved design. However, in the case the site is not historic, So there's the recreational trail does have its own land use plan for development and signage along the trail. Generally, trail-oriented signs are those that are mounted on a frontage that are directly fronting the trail. These signs typically should not exceed 3 square feet. And sign C is the one that is in that vicinity. It does exceed 3 square feet at 39.44 square feet. And you can see that here. In the past, I think the staff felt that signage in this area, it's hard to determine whether this is intentionally directed at the recreational trail or if it's really more focused on the waterfront parking lot. There would be really limited ability to identify the building from the parking lot without such signage. So staff felt that it was appropriate that the ARC can decide whether this is a sign that is directly fronting the trail or if it's really intended to be oriented towards the waterfront lot. Staff is recommending a condition of approval that the applicant may rotate banner signs to support new exhibits. The banner signs must be the same overall size and location and include exhibit artwork. So in order to approve the application, the ARC has to make 3 findings. The first being that the proposal achieves the purposes and objectives of the sign ordinance. Staff was able to make this finding. The signage does serve as an effective means of identification and communication of the use. It would enhance equality and equity among sign owners. In the case of this building, this is one of the larger buildings in the area and warrants quite a bit more signage than we might normally see in certain areas. And it does better achieve the purposes and objectives of the sign ordinance. The second finding is the signs are compatible and achieve those purposes and objectives. As I mentioned, it's a very similar finding. There's substantial building frontage and multiple elevations, a lot of different angles to view this building. So staff felt that what has been proposed today is consistent with that requirement. And lastly, the signage has to be consistent with the general plan and applicable land use plan. The general plan does classify this as a public and institutional general plan land use designation for the site, which the current use is consistent with that, and the signage would support that use. The building, for the building size, the sign content is appropriate, and it is consistent with the downtown specific plan. And then lastly, the ARC can make that finding regarding sign C that it doesn't directly front the trail and is oriented towards the waterfront lot. So with that, staff recommends approval with the said conditions of approval. I am available for questions. The applicant is here as well. He does have a PowerPoint that he could briefly go through. So thank you. Yeah, ask me if there's questions.
Any questions of staff?
I do have a couple questions. Do you know, it looks as if there's no lighting associated with any.
Correct.
And I can ask this of the applicant as well, but is this representative of the variety of art that would change with the temporary signage? I can ask that of them
Okay.
again, but yeah, that might be easier to ask them. I think that is it. Those are my questions.
Yeah. So, and I'm sorry if you mentioned this in your presentation, are all these signs temporary exhibit signs? It feels like some of them are permanent to identify the building and some of them are temporary for exhibits.
Correct. Yeah. So
I mean, I think it's obvious. It's the MHA Museum at Stanton Center. All those are basically permanent painted on signs.
right.
You could bring up that table 1. Yeah.
Right. I think what makes sense is I can show you which ones, I think this is more of a permanent sign here. The banners Their banner materials, the intent of the condition was
Mhm.
to say if, there was a new exhibit coming in, they could replace the signage with that exhibit essentially.
Would replacement of the signs require another ARC hearing?
No.
The banners ones would.
Yeah, sorry.
but The permanent ones.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, the replacement of the banners would not, if the ARC adopted that condition. And we can clarify that in condition.
Okay, so we can make that a condition that it comes to ARC if they change, if the ones that are not permanent are changed, exhibits.
It would depend upon. Yeah, I mean, I think overall, if the sign sizes did not change, I would say that the permanent signs would probably have to come back. The ARC could approve this as more of like a sign program and reinforce that those are the locations and sizes that they would like to see and defer to staff for future review.
Okay.
I had a question.
ahead.
Is the MHAA contractually obligated to include the words Stanton Center?
I don't know.
Not sure either the contract. I'm Gary Spradlin, by the way.
We're still under staff
we're still in
questions.
Question, yeah.
Can you
We'll
wait a little bit until we come to applicant questions? Thank you.
If there's no answer to that, then I'll just hold it for my comments.
I just want to add that we can't regulate the content of a sign. So we can't make any decisions on what the signs say.
What if part of the staff response is sign clutter?
Sign what?
Clutter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, let's
so-
discuss it.
yeah, because but I mean, we can talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's like the number of signs and the size of the signs.
Not so much on
Not so
not
much like the
clutter on-
content of the signs. Yeah. Okay. But I hear you. All righty. So should we move on for an applicant presentation?
Sure.
Okay.
As I was starting to say, I'm Gary Spradlin and I'm the president of the board of directors of the Monterey History and Art Association. I was here 2 years ago to go through this process when we put up the signs in 2023. So we made enough changes that I think Chris wanted us to come back and talk about that. But he's done such a really good job of presenting everything. I don't feel like there's much I can add to that. I can answer any questions you have about it. The question about Stanton Center, I can say Stanton's built Stanton Center. The name Stanton Center was put on the building when it was built. It's still there on one side where we want to put the permanent signage. There's still raised letters that say Stanton Center. And my understanding was that Monterey actually has Stanton Center because Monterey said they could put Stanton Center on the building. I had been told by somebody else that they had wanted it originally to build it over where the Sunset Center is. And they wouldn't let them put Stanton Center on the building, so they brought it over here. So I would say, I don't know if it's in the contract. But I certainly would like to have it on the building.
You would like to.
I would like to have it there. I understand the sign looks kind of busy.
That's
I do, I understand that. Were there other questions you had for me? We have had problems. What part of the reason we have so many signs? We have problems with that building being so large. People don't know what's in it. They don't know what it is. If you approach from the parking lot, we have contractors that come to work on things. They can't find the building. There's just nothing that tells you where it is from the parking lot. So that's why we've been lobbying with Chris to get something on the side of the building that says that it's a museum and this is our home. It's also very difficult to tell that we're open because it's a darker building. I mean, it's light colored, but there are no signs that are lit. Nothing shows up outside. other than our signage on the building. So we have quite a few signs. We want to advertise what's there. One other thing, all the signs that you saw are suggestions, the banners, they all say Joe Mora. We do have a large Joe Mora collection inside the building. We also have a lot of other art. We would like to have banners that say more than Joe Mora. And so those were suggestions as to what would be there to give you size ideas and placement ideas. We do have an exhibit ongoing right now that's been in place for almost 2 years. It's put on by the Italian Heritage Society, and I've asked Anna Marie to come. She's here in the audience. She is and her society are wanting us to add better signs because they have not seen a lot of attendance in the building, and that's true. We don't have a lot of people show up. They walk past the building, they don't know what's in it. They don't know we're open, as we've had to put a sign outside with a little tiny flag that says we're open. They have offered, the Italian Heritage Society has offered actually to put the signs on the pillar, which is something that had been raised at the meeting we had in 2023. It was suggested we have some sort of changeable banners like they have across the street at the Art Museum. They're on hanging bars. And so that's what we proposed for the pillar. I saw a picture today, actually, from about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, when those bars and banners actually were on that pillar. So that's not a new idea. That's been there before. Anyway, I don't want to drag it on. If you have any questions for me, please ask.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I think my original question was just verifying that make sure I'm understanding which ones are permanent and temporary, and maybe it's on there, but it's, is
The
it,
painted signs are permanent, and the aluminum,
so all banner ones, so E, F, G, H, and I. Yeah, so from E on, those are all temporary. All the ones that say Joe Moore are examples of temporary banners. And my question about that was, are they representative of the variety of art and color for those? Because, for instance, H and I, those are the same, and that's kind of clear that that's a new exhibit and representing that. There are others that are different. One is more black and white, others have color. I guess again, it's one of those, it's hard we can't really dictate a temporary one, but with so many temporary ones, we'd want kind of some understanding of the variety and of them, I guess.
Bob Wecker actually made these images for us, and the files he had were all Joe Mora.
Yep.
So you see a lot of Joe Mora. We have quite a bit of other art that we would highlight. We have a large collection of art from a guy named Paul Whitman, who was a student of Armin Hansen. He had watercolors, like a large cypress, sort of a Point Lobos painting. We have the Italian Heritage Society will probably occupy that pillar with something suggesting, their exhibit. We'll probably have something of Joe Mora, but not a whole bunch the way we do today.
So better clarifying question. These are not necessarily advertising a new exhibit that's there for a short period of time. They're more advertising the variety of existing
That would be
exhibits.
correct, right?
That's
We
so
would probably use one of them to highlight something that's new.
Mhm.
Maybe two, but we're really trying to show people what's inside and try to get them to come to the door and look in. We have Emil Norman is another one that's new to us. We don't have banners showing that, but we've put a lot of time and money into developing an Emil Norman exhibit, and that's just starting. It's only been up for 3 weeks. So I didn't even have a picture to put on the banner for that.
Great. So a lot of these are actually semi-permanent because they're kind of permanent advertising of the variety.
They might be up for a couple of years.
And then which ones, are the column ones, the ones that would be advertising
They would be
something
more-
new that comes in?
Right, that and probably, I'm not sure what your numbering is, Chris. So and you go there, those two signs, those two banners, could advertise, changing exhibits.
Okay.
They may not be up permanently. One of them is more permanent. I can see the one on the right, my right being more permanent. The one with the big Joe Moore letters on the bottom of it might be something that would rotate, and show some other exhibit.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, if we don't have any other questions of
She's
the applicant.
raising her-
Oh, we have another presentation. Excuse me?
Can we open public comments so she
Oh,
can
yeah,
speak?
this was a presentation and our questions. Got it.
All right,
Points.
so we'll open up public comments if there's no more questions for the applicant. All right.
Hello, I'm Anna Marie Della Sala Stanton, and I'm the president of the Italian Heritage Society. Originally, we wanted to put a display up of the history of fishing when the Italians came, which was around 1905. And working with Hans, he said, well, why don't you do a history that started with the Indians and Japanese, Chinese, and so forth. So we put together an exhibit, and it took hours, and we donated our money and time. And I would walk by the building, and because of that building, the way the light shines on those windows, you cannot tell there's anybody in there. And so I kept saying to Gary, you need signage out there to let people know what's inside. So it was, I want to say personally, it was kind of heartbreak to put that much energy, yet everyone that has seen it has been very impressed. I don't want to say I'm bragging, but I feel really proud of what we came up with. And it took us about 6-7 months to put it together. And I just feel like something has to be at eye level. And that's where those pillars are really important, because they would be changeable. And some of the exhibits might be there for 6 months or a year, and others might be there for longer, but people need to know what it is. And just the word museum was nowhere near. And Monterey History and Art at Stanton Center really didn't tell you what was inside of there. So I just felt really strongly that signage was important, and putting something way high on the balconies, what people are just not looking to that. They're walking at more eye level. So that was my biggest concern. And I just felt like I knew some of the other exhibits people had put a lot of time into, and people weren't even getting the opportunity to walk in there because it looks like an office building to me when I walk by there. It does not look like it's anything with and I think that is a little bit confusing. When Gary first showed me those pictures, I'm going, wow, you're really showcasing Joe Mora. And he said, no, that's the art the guy had. And he was just using those to just set where they're going to be. So it's really not about having 4 posters that say Joe Mora. Okay. Does that mean I'm
You still
done?
have 1 minute.
Oh, 1 minute. Is there any questions anybody has, or is there anything that? Okay. Thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Any other public comments?
There are no attendees online with their hands
Can you
raised.
remind the public how to comment?
I will remind the public how to comment. Information on participating in this meeting and providing public comment, including remotely by Zoom or telephone, is on this meeting's agenda, which is online at monterey.gov/agendas. Remote commenters will be muted until it is their turn to speak, and a timer will be shown on the screen. If you are connected on Zoom, the timer is accurate with no delay. In the chamber, we recommend keeping phones and devices muted to prevent audio interference with the meeting. Thank you for participating in your city government. And there are still no attendees online with their hands raised.
All right, so we'll close public comment and open it up to committee comments.
Well, I think it's great to see you all here again. I can't believe it's been 2 years. It felt like yesterday that we were having this conversation. And great to see so many new examples of the signage come in that can be more permanent. I guess in general, I'm inclined to think that museums are considered exceptions. I mean, this is the case for architecture. That's where you get all these Gary crazy things and things like that, because it's something that you do want to be a little bit different and draw people's attention. I also think it's important to really be clear in that signage, the difference between the permanent signage and those things that are temporary or displaying that that artwork. And for the most part, I think that is achieved. But I would like to discuss a little bit the idea that one, for instance, the permanent ones are generally kind of more horizontal or small and kind of really affixed to the building itself. And that seems appropriate. Banners are really long and tall. You see this in some ways, the bigger the better. Like it's almost it's more obvious that this is displaying the excitement of something. Like we're used to that, right? The banner unrolls and here's the new exhibit that's at such and such museum. And it's exciting and nice to see that change from time to time if there's something new there. And I believe the vertical ones have the most success in that. And the ones that are more rectangular, small, rectangular in shape are a little less successful in that, in my opinion. And similarly, the one I'm just slightly conflicted on, even though it's very nice, is the one that's attached to the columns. That is the permanent one. Again, it's sort of like it, but somehow you want it to be attached to the building as part of that permanent display. I can be persuaded in conversation, perhaps, but I wanted to note the pieces that are a little bit I'd like to discuss more. And so that's primarily, I think, even though I still like it, I think it's a handsome sign. I know that location is important to show on the plaza. The two that might be more rotating are the ones partially because they're so different from each other. And the shape of them, they're not nice, long, tall, vertical banners. And then I really like sign G. I think that's a really lovely long banner. I hope it stays permanent like that. I very much appreciate and understand the need to have a simple sign that faces the parking lot and these other areas as well. And the column banners seem like an appropriate place for announcing kind of changes in the exhibit, things like that. In some ways, I wonder if they could just be even a little bit longer, honestly. Just accentuate that length of the column and do that. So those are my quick thoughts. Generally pleased to see this come forward and glad they're going to be permanent signage. This is fantastic. I love having more museums and historic museums that are local in nature. It's fantastic. So hoping we can make some minor recommendations maybe to change these, but hopefully move this forward quickly tonight.
I'll echo what Pam said. I think it's great to have signage. I've lived here a couple different times and didn't know this was a museum until I was actually inside it for a totally separate event, fundraiser. Looking at the color of the building and then looking at some of the signs with negative space. The negative space in the signs, it looks like E and F and D are just kind of slightly off the color from the museum, whereas the I think it's sign C, the negative space of it, you can't really even tell if there is a difference. That's a permanent one. I guess from an aesthetic perspective, again, not content related, but from an aesthetic perspective, it would seem more appealing to my eye. I'd be curious to hear that of the other folks on the committee, whether there should be some consistency in the negative space colors for the rotating exhibits, the ones on the large column in front of the entrance. I don't think there's any problem with having that kind of call out orange, which grabs people's attention. I'm just wondering what the rest of the committee thinks about the consistency of the negative space colors on the other walls of the building.
I mean, yeah, I'd agree. I mean, the reason is the other ones are painted on. And so so that it's actual background negative space
Right.
that exists. Agree with D, sign D, it's similar. It's kind of trying to create a background that matches the building, but might just be better if it's just white, like banner G. That's just a white background. It stands out as a
Yeah.
sign, as opposed to E and F, which are kind of, you know,
Yeah, it
not
seems like D, E, and F are all
obviously standing out.
different beiges.
Yeah. Oh, I was saying I liked it, but that it just stood out as an obvious.
I guess I personally don't mind that it is a different color from the buildings.
Yeah.
I guess it's just a little dissonant for me to have them all kind of a different shade of beige.
Yeah, more obviously different is preferable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm
We,
sorry, we have to, we have public comment closed, so we're going to have to allow this to discussion. And if we feel like it's necessary, we'll reopen public comment. But for now, we have to.
So
Close
I guess
public
I'd
comment.
ask
Yeah.
of you all, is it worth caveating approval with a more consistent color palette, or am I overreaching at all
I
here?
think if I'm understanding your previous comment, we're not allowed to comment on the content of the signs. And when we get into color palettes, we're commenting on the content of the signs.
Makes-
no, the content, meaning the written content, is off
Oh, the
limits.
message.
Like what they
Yeah.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
I disagree with your idea of history is not inappropriate.
Yeah.
Well,
I guess I don't feel strongly one way or the other about that
that's fair.
in terms of.
And it's all, and I understand these are probably renderings anyway, so
Yeah,
it's,
they were just
you know,
done. Yeah.
I think there's a danger with signage. One of the things I think that's very successful about the museum across the street is that there's a certain restraint there. It's those 2 or 3 vertical rectangles, and they change over time, but they stay consistent. To me, I look at what's proposed here, and there is a lot going on. A lot of different sizes, a lot of different shapes, a lot of different colors, a lot of different graphics. Personally, I think it's working against you at a certain point, because what happens is visually it just becomes a sea of graphics and nothing stands out. And I don't like particularly the sign D. It looks like really a pasted on element. Like it's not really part of the building. It's almost like a sandwich board or something like that. And I think it looks, I think there's a danger. Obviously it's, you know, it's a rendering, and it's sort of a tough thing to really gauge, but I think there's a real danger of that one in particular looking a little cheap on the building. And I get that it's a difficult find from the parking lot, which I think is what you're trying to solve with that sign, someone pulling in the parking lot and being able to find the building.
That's the plaza, actually.
Is
Is that
That's the plaza.
the
Sign
plaza?
C is the one facing the parking lot. Sign C is my favorite of those, for whatever it's worth.
Sign C, yeah, I actually think sign C is sort of an elegant solution.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
on the
that's,
building
you know,
is-
of all the signs that are presented, I think that's actually the most sort of elegantly placed. I'm not even sure the blue on there is necessary, but again, we're sort of splitting hairs at that point.
And I guess my comment on the coloration And the consistency of that is kind of to offset the otherwise potentially busy or garish clutter.
Rest of the,
So it might offset that is
Yeah.
my comment there.
And I'm also, I think when it was presented as signs A and B, it said the Stanton Center signage is actually raised lettering that is going to remain. But that raised lettering is being relocated. And am
C is
That was my understanding.
okay, so it's not like, because right now it's sort of raised Stanton Center, sort of elegantly centered with raised letters on the signs. It looks like it's sort of being condensed, pushed to the side, and then the new stuff is being painted on next to it on signs A and B.
looks like it's removed, no?
Yeah, I think this would be all painted.
It's all painted.
Yeah.
So the existing raised letters are being removed. Okay. There's a lot going on with that one.
Yeah.
that's
Well,
A.
that's why I asked about the Stanton Center element.
Yeah.
I, design signs for my job.
Okay.
That's what I would take out. But it sounds like it's important. It's important to the applicant.
Well, if it's existing and
Well, it's not existing.
no, there's part of it that is existing, but now it sounds like it's being removed, which we might want to open up just to clarify. Since
Yeah, because
Chris sounds he's not sure about it, but if,
No, I visited it this weekend.
no, based on this, you said the raised lettering is missing.
Yeah,
today
it's not
already,
No, it's there right now, but it would have to be removed.
or moved, simply moved.
I don't think it's being moved.
That's-
No,
This is
that's what
all
I'm-
painted. The raised
that's what
lettering is
I'm-
being removed and this
that's
is
what I'm
being
saying, yeah.
painted on. Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell that Stanton raised the Stanton sign. It's pretty aging as it is.
Pretty wet.
Aging, it
It's
looks,
okay. It's getting a little beat up.
it's not, yeah, this is clearly new.
So I just wanted to add that the applicant is requesting that extra amount of signage that Chris mentioned. It was above the recommended maximum sign area for the building. And Chris, can you remind them of the inconsistencies with the sign guidelines that they would be approving or
Yeah.
changing?
So there are three. Pull up that page. So a number of signs exceed the 50 square foot sign area per sign recommended maximum, and the one square foot of sign area per linear foot of building frontage, as well as no more than 2 wall signs per storefront.
So this could help you sort of narrow down what changes you want to make to the application, if any.
So I have some thoughts, if I can give my comments.
Go ahead.
So yeah, I love this building. I really miss the lighthouse bulb. I think that when they had the lighthouse bulb that was rotating, that was really a great way of letting people know that there's a museum there and it's eye-catching. Looks like but now I understand the need for signs. I think these look nice for the most part. Looks like we approved 4 signs, 2016, and then 4 signs in 2023, and we're going up to 9. I do think, the specific plan standards do ask that we minimize signs. And I think there are opportunities to reduce the total sign area. I would propose that maybe 6 signs are sufficient to identify the building and the exhibits. And what I agree with the chair, about sign D. I think it is an improvement. Like right now, it is flexible PVC at the moment. And I was disappointed when that was put up. Looks like this is going to be an improvement with alumina clad, but yeah, I still think that it's not necessary to identify the sign, especially if we're going to be adding, signs E and F are really, really prominent. And then we're going to be putting that identity signage for A and B. I think one, either, having A or B would be sufficient instead of having both of them. And I would say the same for
Can you say that last one again real quick?
A or B.
Okay.
A and B. I think having it face the wharf, that's kind of the entrance into the waterfront area from the lot. Having both of them, in my opinion, is making it busy, especially with all that lettering. And then I'd also propose removing one, either H or I as well, to reduce it down to 6 signs.
Can, I think I'm pretty well oriented on all of these. I'm pretty sure I get where E and, well, it's the other side of, E and F is the other side of C. It's around the corner. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. I don't have any problem with A and B. I wish they weren't painted, but I guess I understand. There's finances involved, and it would be nice if, as an institution, to be raised lettering themselves, which I think is happening for C. It's not, it's not bronze or something, but it's raised lettering, which is nice. I guess I worry a little bit even on that one, that you're going to see the edge. Well, there'll be an edge shadow. In some ways, why not just paint it on the building, or be consistent? Right. A and B and C would all be raised lettering or all be painted, is sort of a thought. D, while I understand the need to show the building signage from the plaza, I think A and B will do that pretty well, and that D is not necessary. While I understand the need to showcase the work, E and F don't seem like temporary signs. They seem like posters, I guess, and a little too much and too chance to be too busy. Again, I like G, and in some ways, if they could all be like that, but you just rotate the art and the name of the exhibit on the bottom, that would be an improvement. Like maybe we don't have E, but we have F that is the same as G. Does that make sense? So it would be a tall banner on the edge. And then I think H and I are fine. I mean, it seems like a lot, but I used to remember seeing some sandwich boards and stuff out there too, would just be put out for exhibits. But I do understand the importance of people understanding there's something new there. Like, if I'm walking by, I want to, oh, there's something new. I should go back in. So again, I guess to summarize, I understand A, B, and C. They seem appropriate locations. Generally signage. D, I'm less interested in. Don't think it's necessary, just as far as I could see something in the location of F, but a tall banner would be preferable. And then I'm fine, I think, with the rest. Wanting to
I think
reduce something.
I would tend to agree with you that D should go. I think C can, I'll start at the top. A and B, I think, it's appropriate. They're both appropriate locations for signage because the building very intentionally faces the wharf and faces the courtyard. So they probably want to call themselves out. Again, the design of that particular sign, I'd encourage the museum to, consider that.
Yeah.
There's 4 different fonts. There's a graphic. There's 2 colors. It's when I think about museum signage, it tends to be very spare and minimal and done with a graphic. I think your MHA graphic is nice, but there's just a lot. It almost looks like three different signs
Yeah.
piled together there. It needs a little bit of design there. So A and B, I don't have a problem with the size or the fact it's painted. C, I like. D, I think should be removed. E and F, I don't have a problem with, but again, I'm viewing those as rotating banners.
And I believe they're,
Am I,
they're
are E
already-
and F are rotating banners?
Yes, they are
They
rotating
are
banners.
rotating
and-
banners.
Yeah.
So we're not even sure what they're
Just kind
gonna.
of wish they were vertical.
Yeah,
More
I get you, I get you.
match, G.
Gee, and I'm like, it'd almost be neat if they like zoomed out and showed us, like in a situation like this, a rendering of the entire elevation of the
Yeah.
building and how all these signs are
More how you'd
working
experience
together.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they have them now, and I mean, they do look really nice.
nice. Helps a little bit, just
a little
to see
bit.
where
Yeah,
they are. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I guess I'm fine with G. Again, I agree that E and F would look a little better vertical to sort of match G, but you know, if this is how they want to present it and they want that real estate, I'd be tempted to approve that. And then the banner signs or the vertical signs on the columns, I don't have a problem with that, but I would say that we remove D, and I would encourage them to really study A and B.
Okay.
See if they could clean up that graphic, but I don't know like how we handle that. Like,
Well,
I
that
don't
was-
wanna turn this into a design.
Yeah, I was just gonna get there. Like we've made a lot extensive commentary. Again, thank you so much. Really love that this institution is going to be here. We honestly are trying to, I think, help, not make it feel more elevated and part of the community. And to that end, why I would hate to do that, it almost seems like they take our comments and come back and we approve it. Yeah, would be the appropriate way to do that. I don't like to do that. We like to approve. But we do have a lot of comments, and that would be hard to capture in a succinct way.
Succinct motion.
So, I mean, if it sounds to me like we approve all of the signs except for, so, well, what I'm hearing is you're ready to approve all the signs except for D, which is the one kind of on its own,
He
right? Am I,
Patrick
Yeah.
varied on that. I mean, sorry, Justin, but and I could agree with that, but we've made a lot of different comments. So like maybe both of those could be vertical and look more like G. So you have some consistency.
yeah,
Ian,
I
We're talking about D.
just want to remind the committee that it sounds like there's concerns about signs A and B being too long and signs
Correct.
E and F being too wide and wanting to be longer, like taller. And you can change the size of these signs to better achieve the objectives of the sign ordinance in terms of sign clutter. So you can achieve that by reducing their size with a condition of approval.
who among us cares about the sign A and B's length enough that we would ask them to change it?
I mean, somehow making it more consistent, I think, is our concern. So maybe just removing the blue, right? So if it was all one solid color, that would help. That
Yeah,
type of thing. But
okay.
otherwise, I could, again, it might help them if they can figure out how to simplify it, but I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I guess I personally don't have an issue with that. I think what I would agree with is that I'd rather see the consistent, the E and F being matching sign G in terms of length and dimension. I mean, currently it looks like there are signs on the side of at least the photo that I see from 5 years ago shows the Salvador Dali signs that are quite
Yeah.
large and
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
large.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen those
Um,
too.
But
In some ways, that's preferable. I think that's what
think
I
that's
was
matching
saying
what
at
they're
least.
presenting.
Just go ahead and just be big, and this is a art banner.
yeah, that's what I'm looking at. But they appear actually longer and possibly even wider.
They're bigger.
Yeah, than what are in this rendering.
Yeah.
So my eye wants consistency, but that's just,
Yeah.
I think these look pretty similar to the ones across the street. And I don't have an issue with the
I think in the pictures, the Dali ones are actually the same size.
Are they really?
Yeah, because it looks like they're almost hitting the head of the window below and they're aligned with the head of the window above.
Yeah, I'm looking at this one and they appear to drop lower.
Oh, you're right. I'm
Yeah.
looking at a different picture. That's a different picture. yeah.
But that's the thing, it might be different times,
Yeah,
different
yeah,
signs,
yeah.
and, but this is part of why I asked, if we approve this now, are we approving the same dimensions, the
Yes.
same locations
Yeah.
in the future?
Yes, that is my understanding for the temporary.
Yes.
Okay,
And because they've also put in there, they have permanent rods
right,
to put
Right,
them up
yeah.
and down. So that's great.
and the rods exist already.
I don't
Do
know.
that.
No,
I saw some heads shaking in the audience, so. What do we think?
We all agree on removing D.
Yes.
I think so. It seems unnecessary. I mean, in some ways I get it, but you're gonna notice that from the, what is it, B? Mine stopped, decided to not let me load it anymore.
I suppose if somebody is moving into Alvarado Street toward the Portola, they're going to see signs, and if they're moving out into Custom House Plaza, they will eventually see the signs.
Pretty
Without
at the
D.
door. Yeah.
Without D.
Without,
So
Yeah.
it's pretty much, like, it's the only side of the building,
That doesn't,
front of the building, yeah.
which I'm surprised.
So
they
I
didn't
can get
want
on board with that. I
something there.
suppose.
Yeah.
To me, I feel like that was put up when they put the fence around it for a while. Just to let people know it's not shuttered. It was
Right.
it was like a, flexible PVC sign.
Yeah, and that was, we wanted to let them get going and put it up, and they said, come back to us with some permanent signage, and they are, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um,
But I think it's the signage without it is sufficient to identify the building.
yeah. Okay, so first three were kind of like, fine.
D remove.
D remove. I can be persuaded on those. I get it. In some ways, I just want them to be more obvious, I guess, but I guess they're pretty obvious that they're
What's that?
showcasing, the variety of exhibits.
You talking about E and F?
Yes. Yeah, sorry, mine gave me this for some reason.
And G is, when you look at the location of G, it's somewhat of an inconsequential sign. I mean,
I know,
it's like in the loading dock on the the back of the building.
The good.
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
good.
That may face lighthouse, I'm not sure. Cars passing by.
Oh,
As they're
sure.
going down into the tunnel. Yeah.
Ish.
Basically means you can't drive through the parking lot without seeing at least once.
I'm not saying I have a problem with it,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm saying it's not like, to me, it's not a very impactful
Yep.
thing. I guess my only thing is remove D. I would encourage them to study the graphic design of A and B, but I don't know if it's,
Agreed.
That's fine.
yeah. I don't know if that will require the comeback or.
Probably not, if we can be succinct in our
Right.
recommendations, remove one sign and
Strongly.
please.
Yeah, because really A and B,
Study
that was the first thing that stuck out to me. I know
Same.
Stanton Center is important, but in terms of branding, I don't think anyone in Monterey thinks of that as a Stanton Center. I think lots of people still call it the Maritime Museum. I don't know, longtime residents. But I feel like that branding element could be removed and would remove a lot of the clutter, especially in A and B. That's why I was thinking of removing one of them just because the thought of, I went to go look at the awnings and just the thought of those two so close together, in addition to the whole, just seemed like really too much. And again, I think of the Monterey Art Museum as a great example of signage, as you had mentioned, and I feel like we're almost there here. But is it
Yeah,
enough
we're-
to hold up?
Yeah, we're sort of talking at this point, but yeah, if it just said Stanton Center. And then the museum logo was,
Or I think no Sand Center, I mean, it's a museum,
Yeah.
Monterey History and Art Museum.
it's sort of historic.
Or
And
Stanton,
it's
I don't know
the-
why it's not a Stanton Museum. either.
I don't either. Like that would be a lasting name. It's tied to the area, but yeah.
That- again, now
it's
we're
changed
I
names so
think we're
many.
talking about content again.
Yeah,
now, so-
yeah, exactly.
But that's where I just would strongly recommend, I guess, and maybe we just
Yeah,
move
okay.
to approve.
All right.
Um,
Go ahead. try a motion there.
Okay, I move to approve permit SI dash 23-0070 for 5 Custom House Plaza without sign D, and strongly recommend that the applicant consider a redesign of the identity signage on the awnings.
A and B.
A and B.
Does that include adopting special condition number 1 that the applicant may rotate the banner signs without coming back to ARC?
Yes.
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 Did you second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, motion carries.
And that is appealable to the planning commission with forms available online and in the planning office within 10 days.
Thanks for your patience.
Yeah.
Sometimes these are sort of
Conversation. yeah.
meandering conversations. It's not the first time it's happened, but
I love signage and designing it, so it's a fun one.
Well, and
all right,
we actually had a good conversation about signage.
there you go. So I believe that's our first and final public appearance. Are there any informal staff reports?
Thank you.
Thank you.
So next time, on March 19th, we are looking at scheduling 2 hotel properties. 2600 Sand Dunes is, they want to redo their landscaping again. And 1150 Monroe Avenue wants to change their signage. That's the America's Best Value Inn.
Okay.
All right. Look forward to that. All right, if that's it, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Gotta take this home and study it. I keep